miisa 8 ilaa 9 fiidnimo halka aad kala socotaan barnaamijka Ilays waa telefishinka caalamiga ee Somali Channel. daawadayaal waxaan weli ku guda jirnaa barnaamijkii aan idinka soo diyaarinay shirkii xarunta Amnesty International ee looga hadlayay xaaladda xuquuqul insaanka ee Itoobiya. daawadayaal waxa sida aad arkaysaan loogu soo bandhigay xaaladda shacabka Soomaalida ogaadeenaya iyo dhibaatooyinka ay u geystaan ciidamada Itoobiya dadka rayidka ay aan isdifaaci karin. shirkaas oo loogu talagalay in looga hadlo qodobo badan ayaa khudbadii Koosar Cismaan kadib waxa uu isku bedelay in looga hadlo xaaladda qalafsan ee wajahan shacabka Soomaalida ogaadeenaya. doodihii iyo sidii wax looga qaban lahaa waxa ay noo soo diyaariyay wariyaheena Bashiir Cabdi Gurey.
Now I think we are going to move to discussion.
shirkan oo jaaliyada Soomaalida ogaadeenaya ay ku soo bandhigtay xaaladda dhulka iyo shacbiga Soomaalida ogaadeenaya ayaa waxa la guda galay dood dheer kadib kolkii la daawaday warbixintii iyo filimkii ka hadlayay nolosha shacbiga Soomaalida ogaadeenaya ay ku sugan yihiin. waxaa doodo badan laga dhiibtay sidii looga hortagi lahaa waxana looga qaban lahaa dadka ku dhibaataysan dhulka Soomaalida ogaadeenaya. wiil daayar oo 18 jir ah ayaa su'aashiisa ku bilaabay sida tan.
I don't want to ask about any politics or about anything.
anigu waxaan ahay 18 sano jir waxa aan aad uga damqaday filimka ay Kawsarna daawasiisay. dadka reer ogaadeenaya waxa ay raadinayaan biyo iyo cabitaan iyo cunno waa inaan tallaabo degdeg ah ka qaadnaa. sidoo kale waxaa ka hadlay dad aad u fara badan oo su'aalo weydiiyay isugu jira sidii loo taakulayn lahaa iyada oo qaar dadku ay sheegeen inay habboon tahay ama la gaaray waqtigii shacbiga Soomaalida ogaadeenaya iyo qowmiyadaha kale ee ku dulman gacanta Itoobiya sida Oromada iyo ay u shirkoobi lahaayeen isla markaana wax uga qaban lahaayeen dhibaatadaasi.
Needless to mention their name. When we visit them for an appeal together with Trevor, what they said is, you are disorganized. A will come to us and tell us that some story. B comes from the same region and tells us a completely different and contradicting story. We are contradicting each other. It is true that we are crying while we see some clips, some videos, some scenarios. We cry, we feel. Animals feel. Animals totally feel how that kind of feeling. But we must be able to think beyond that. We are a rational being than an animal being. We are not only animal. We are also rational. We must have some specific objective. People are killed. That killing continues. Now eviction is coming, and the people are being evicted from their homeland. It is a means of their life, and they are evicted from there. And the government is keeping justifying, and we are not able to justify the condition of our people. What should we do? We have to think about that. This is actually not the effort of me, as Trevor is trying to say. It is basically Trevor's effort. It is so inspiring to be with Trevor. Trevor is not an Oromo, I'm an Oromo, or he's not an Ethiopian, but he is doing than what I did so far for the past 20 years. That's why it is that we are not in a position to do something for our people. When we are talking about torture, my younger brother was tortured, and he is partly paralyzed, and he is somewhere else in Africa now. But I am not engaged in this work not due to my brother, but due to the humanity. I share something with the Ogadeni, the Anuak, and everyone else. We have got something in common, and we have got similar concern the violation of human rights, the killing, disappearance, torture, and things like that. Therefore, if we share that, why is it that we can't unite efforts? We cannot be the same. Within the same family, there are differences. Within one individual family, single individual family, there are differences. But there must be an element of tolerance within a family to live together. Complete unity is not expected everywhere. Therefore, we have got some common agenda which would unite us, and let us unite. Let's unite.
waxaa banalka la weydiiyey sababta ay Amnesty International wax uga qabaan weyday xaaladda shacbiga Soomaalida ogaadeynaya waa in ay xafiis ka furtaan ogaadeynaya ayna ka soo warramaan dhibaatada shacbiga haysata arrintaasi oo Dr. Travel oo ka jawaabayay ayaa u sheegay in loo diiday Amnesty International iyo hay'ado kaleba in ay galaan dhulka Soomaalida ogaadeynaya.
These are the ideas so far, but what we want to come out of this meeting is that one action and the enthusiasm for continuing to meet together with representatives of these organisations and the Ethiopian Human Rights Council. They're underrepresented today. We were going to have somebody from them, but he unfortunately could not come. We have to cooperate and speak with one voice to the British government. Why Amnesty doesn't have an office in the Ogaden is obvious. They just aren't allowed into Ethiopia, full stop. Tom can enlarge on that later if he wants to, or now.
shirka oo aad u ballaarnaa ayaa waxaa kale oo ka hadashay gabadh cadaan ah oo sheegtay inay Ethiopia dhibaato adag loogu geystay iyada oo sheegtay in la xiray oo laga masaafuriyo dhulkaas dad badan oo reerkeeda ka mid ahna taliska TPLF ay dileen waxayse tiri ama sheegi maayo dhibaato badan waayo waxa aan maanta daawaday dhibaatada loo geystay shacbiga Soomaalida ogaadeynaya marka dhibka ay Ethiopia soo gaarsiisay aad ayuu u yaraanayaa markaan arrintan barbar dhigo.
I am white Ethiopian. When whoever asks me who are you, I say I am white Ethiopian. I'm one of the first victim of Ethiopian government. In 1991, I was deported. First deportee from Ethiopia. I came back. I was deported first time to Sudan. I came back, I was detained, so it continued starting from 1991 until 1997. I was deported from Ethiopia 5 times and for 3 years detained. Therefore, last time when I was deported from Ethiopia, Alice Martin, who was a BBC reporter, made a report on my case. Then she was deported because she did 2 reports on my case and other Ethiopian as well teacher. And secondly, also somebody was saying about representatives of the Amnesty in Ethiopia or Ogaden or in Somali. We had Amnesty International representative who visited for first election to the Ethiopia, Dr. Martin Hill. He was detained and deported just before I was deported. Therefore, it is impossible the brutal regime like Meles, who is holding up not only British government in his hand, because it's money in coming and coming back, going and coming back, but American as well. So leave alone about it. So now listen what happened with me. I was not myself a victim, my entire family was a victim. My father was killed. He was white, not Ethiopian, not Oromo, not Tigray, not just Gambela. My brother was shot because they came to my house to kill me. It was here in London. My brother, my God. Another brother, my first brother, was killed as well. My son is also a victim. Okay, I don't want to cry because more than me, I saw what's happening. So I am not better off. I cannot say I am better off. I cannot talk when I hear 724 on Al Jazeera, on Islam channel, what's happening in Somalis and Somali and other regions. So I always put myself last. What happened when I was deported to this country? I wanted again go back from the Heathrow. I was demanding, I don't want to apply for asylum, so I'm going back. They did not allow. British ambassador said, no, keep her here because she is going to be detained, deported, she is going to be persecuted. Well, okay, British government, who is a
daawadayaal waxaad daawanaysaan waa barnaamijka Ilays. weli waxaan ku guda jirnaa shir ka dhacay magaalada London oo looga hadlaya xadgudubka xuquuqul insaanka ee u geysatay dawladda Ethiopia. shirkaas waxaa ka hadlay Dr. Trevor oo ah khabiir ku xeel dheer xuquuqul insaanka. wuxuuna ka soo jeediyay warbixin aad iyo aad u qiimo badan.
Thank you everybody here for coming. It's great to see people from all over Ethiopia here today. This is a marvelous opportunity for all of us. I was very saddened to hear when Nikau said about the villagization. We knew about resettlement that was going on a few years ago, where they were mirroring the behavior of the Derg regime before, in the 1980s, when about 150,000 people were killed during the big resettlement programs. And it was said that more people died due to the villagization programs of the Derg. And I'm rather horrified to hear that villagization as well as resettlement is being rejuvenated by the current regime. Can I ask of the audience here, how many people here have actually been in prison in Ethiopia? Can you put your hands up? How many of you were tortured in detention? How many of you have had friends or relatives who have been killed by this regime in Ethiopia?
Tortured, okay.
How many of you have had friends or relatives who have been killed by this regime in Ethiopia? One. 62. And how many of you had friends or relatives who've been disappeared, who've disappeared in custody? Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Thank you for that. Precisely because of that, Ethiopia exports a lot of refugees and asylum seekers from all the countries of the world. Ethiopia last year, in 2009, according to the UNHCR report of June last year, exported more refugees, it was 26th in the world list of countries producing refugees, and in terms of asylum seekers, it was the fourth highest production of asylum seekers, the fourth highest country in terms of producing asylum seekers in the world. And these are exported to mainly Somalia, South Africa and Kenya. Now, refugees have been sent back from surrounding countries. I know of refugees being sent back from Sudan. I interviewed a refugee in Kenya who knew of he saw 4,000 people being sent back from Djibouti in 2004. I interviewed another refugee who saw 500 being sent back from Somaliland in 2006. We know that people have been sent back from Puntland, have been taken back by Ethiopian forces from Somalia, and have been sent back from Kenya. I was in Kenya in September, and I interviewed refugees in the camp at Kakuma, which is near the border with Sudan, and at the three camps around Dadaab, near the border with Somalia, and also in 2 slum areas of Nairobi. In all, there are about 49,000 refugees from Ethiopia in Kenya. This is Kakuma camp. I just whiz through these. This is Eastleigh in Nairobi. A lot of you people will recognise this. And as well as 58 structured interviews with refugees, we had group meetings. This is a group meeting in one of the camps at Dadaab, where I interviewed people as a group and asked them similar questions to what I asked you just now. Out of a group of 26 people in Kakuma, all had been detained, 21 had been tortured. In fact, 20 of them had been detained more than twice, and 6 of them had been detained 3 or more times. 18 knew of a rape case, 16 had had relatives killed, and in 9 cases this was a very close relative, brother, daughter, son, sister, father, mother, husband, wife. 15 had had relatives disappeared. And at the end of this meeting, they said, well, aren't you going to ask us about whole villages destroyed? 5 of them knew of whole villages that had been burnt to the ground by the current regime in Ethiopia. Similarly, in one of the estates in Nairobi, a group of 19 people who attended a meeting, all had been detained again. All had had a relative killed by the regime, and in 11 cases, the first-degree relative, as I said, father, son, mother, daughter, brother, sister, husband, wife, and 11 had had relatives disappeared, 9 of them close. The people I interviewed in a structured way were 58. 32 of these had had friends or relatives killed. In 14 cases, this was a first degree, a very close relative. And 15 had had relatives disappeared.
daawadayaal waxaad daawanaysaan waa barnaamijka Ilays weli waxaan ku guda jirnaa barnaamijkii aan idinka soo diyaarinay shirka dhacay magaalada London shirkaas oo looga hadlayay xadgudubka xuquuqul insaanka ee u geysatay dawladda Itoobiya qowmiyadaha ku hoos nool shirkaas oo muhiimad ballaaran u lahaa qowmiyadaha geeska Afrika gaar ahaan kuwa dulman ayaa shirka waxa lagu soo bandhigay nidaamyada ay isticmaalaan hay'adaha samafalka ah iyada oo xubno ka socda Amnesty International ay ku soo bandhigeen qaababka ay u wajahaan xaaladahaas oo kale iyo qaabka ugu haboon oo la qaadan karo.
So I've been a campaigner within the Africa programme for 5 years, and in terms of my work, it's pretty routine that I have to set up campaigning strategies, and I think sometimes that something that Amnesty International can communicate to fellow activists such as yourselves is strategic campaigning and the ways that we go about it. So that if you perhaps were to take certain ideas that I'm going to present today, you can adapt them for yourselves. We're human rights defenders and we're all human rights activists because we want to see positive change at the end of it. What we want to see is a tangible difference in the lives of human beings. And what we want to do as campaigners, as activists, is to put in place a strategy of campaigning activities, of lobbying, of media work, of all these different things, so that then impacts positively on the people that are victims of human rights abuses.
shirkaas ayaa iyada oo la tixraacaya sidii campaign loo sameyn lahaa ayaa shucuubta kala gidisnaa ee ka soo jeeda geeska Afrika waxa ay qaateen oo ay isku raaceen in la sameeyo qorshe laga midaysan yahay oo lagu soo bandhigayo arrimaha ka dhanka ah bini'aadamka ee ka taagan dhulka Soomaalida ogaadeen iyo Oromo iyo Gambela iyo guud ahaanba shucuubta Itoobiya waxaana la sameeyay petition kaas oo la horgeyn doono dawladda wadanka UK si ay uga joojiso dhaqaalaha deeqda ah ee ay siiso dawladda Itoobiya.
And I think if we could have the petition that we'll talk about later associated with some sort of press conference and trying to get some media presence, then we may be able to affect how our country is dealing with the Ethiopian government. We shouldn't forget that at least one third of Ethiopia's budget comes in foreign aid, and a lot of that is from the EU. So we should be able to exert some pressure there.